What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker,
Amir Rahimi.
and today on The Great Debaters, getting into some LL Cool J walking with a Panther. Get ready, y'all. Alright, Amir, so today on The Great Debaters, we're going to be picking our top 3 tracks off LL Cool J's Walking with a Panther. This is his third album. It came out in 1989, and a lot of people really sleep on this album, in my opinion and in facts. But the thing is, there's 3 different versions. The vinyl, the CD, and the cassette all have different track listings. So, you know, we might talk about songs that are on one version and not on another, and vice versa. So there's just lots of different versions of this album, and be mindful of that as we discuss, because you might have one and not the other. Anyway, that being said, Amir, this is LL's third album. In my opinion, LL is far and away the best rapper of all time. So for you, what was your initial take on Walking with a Panther?
And my initial take, I was really young when listening to this, and you were probably also really young when listening to this. For me, at first, I was probably one of those people that you were referring to that I was sleeping on this album. Because for me, when I first heard this, although I knew LL was like a great rapper, clearly, some of the production didn't do it for me on this album. So it took, after my first initial listens, I'd kind of, tucked it away, was listening to other stuff, and then it wasn't until, years later where I started revisiting certain albums, this being one of them, and then I was like, actually, you know what, I messed up, because this is actually really good, and instead of, me not liking half the album or whatever, now it's like I just don't like a couple songs. And yeah, this album, I was definitely mistaken, because starting off the album, you know how I've said in so many videos how starting off songs is very important. Starting off albums is also very important, and that goes to my first track, Dropping 'Em, my first pick. Dude, I just, yeah, that's just, what can I say? It's, if you just listen to the song, I don't even need to describe anything. I really don't. I can point out a lyric here, I can point out one there, and it won't matter because it's just all so incredible. But one thing I like is how just the sample or samples, and how LL is really, a lot of times with a lot of rappers, what they do is they just have a dope instrumental and then they'll write to it. To me, it's like the beat and LL are just working together. Like, as weird as that may sound, it really sounds like they're in on it to drop such a good song, because the way that the sample is coming in and out, the way his flow is slightly changing here and there, the things he's saying, it's just, it really seems like just a truly, like, they're working together. And I think LL also being the producer on this album with Dwayne Simon as well, I think is just, wow. On Dropping 'Em, it's just, you can just see all of that working, and a lot of the bragging lyrics per usual that LL does. I think to start off the album with Dropping 'Em, and his flow on this is just insane. So
It's just so fierce. It's so fierce. And to start off the album this way, and the sequencing on this album is very intriguing too, because to start off with Dropping 'Em, the fact that he's coming off of Bigger and Deffer, which of course the biggest song on there was I Need Love, and people were like, oh, LL fell off, LL's soft, LL's this, and to come with the first song on the new album is Dropping 'Em. I just remember when I heard it for the first time, I was like, oh my god, this dude. And then Amir saying LL produced the album, and on top of that, the production, when you're going in toward the end of the song, it sounds like the record is skipping, that they're sampling, which is phenomenal. He got the big break, the Billy Squire drop in there. He's talking about rapping. It's just a phenomenal song. Yeah. And I like the fact that it had a different, having guitar and different things, samples that were being used, but LL was doing them more forcefully and differently. And he had just shown with one song to me that this album was going to be nothing to play with. And in my opinion, it's not. Like, I remember I was definitely one of the few people that in my circle growing up in Maryland, that thought that this album was on par with the best music coming out in '89, if not one of the best. And I still think that, and I think over time, if you look at this album, whether you got the versions as 20 tracks, 18 tracks, or 16 tracks, it doesn't matter. More than half of these songs are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even the ones that aren't phenomenal, it may be because the beat's not as much of your favorite, or you didn't like Two Different Worlds or whatever, but that doesn't matter, dude. Like, the whole album, if you look at it as a total package, it's astounding. It's astounding. So Dropping Them is also one of my picks.
Hey.
And I think it's just a masterful way to start the album. It's a masterful way to show that you're not falling victim to this hate that he got from I Need Love. It's amazing to show he's the producer. He had co-produced or produced with LA Posse, Bigger and Deffer, and now he's stepping in to be the producer on Walking with a Panther. I was just like, this dude, it's astounding. It's utterly astounding. And there's so much in this album we're not even going to be able to talk about because we're focusing on 3 songs each, and we already picked one that's the same. So we could at the maximum talk about 4 more songs in detail, but there's so many styles, so many layers, so many concepts, so many ways he's going after things on this project, man. That's why he's the best. That's why he's the best. And this isn't even his best album, which is the craziest part of it, in my opinion. So, all right, Amir, before I get too excited, man, what's your second pick?
Soren, you're showing parts of your personality that no one has seen from the show.
It's Vice Unique Access, baby. Get your shirt, bighurt.com.
There we go. So, this is another... Okay, so you're going to call me crazy for this one. So, and people are probably going to call me crazy for this, who weren't asleep on this album, as I was early on. But this song, I did not care for the beat, and because of that, early on, I've never really played it, and this is Big Ol' Butt. And... Wow. Yeah, wow.
The first time I heard this song, I loved it.
Dude, this song is phenomenal. It's incredible. It's so good. The storytelling, him just casually kind of bragging about infidelity, actually, just really... Kind of, yeah, no, kind of. He's like, even how he says, where I'm just like chilling on the satin, and he's like, who cares if he even just admits to his girl, like, yeah, I was cheating so much, she had a big old butt, He's like, he doesn't even care. He's just like doing whatever. He's like, I like Tina, I like Brenda, I like whoever. And there's 3 different stories, but they're all related because he's cheating on the first girl with the next girl, then that girl with the girl after, and then it's like LL is not even trying to be slick about it because he's making very careless errors, because the one girl that he's going out with works at the same Red Lobster that the coworker works at, and he's like, I forgot. He casually spent the night at Red Lobster, like, and he's just, the way he says things in this song is so bold. Like, he's like, what's your name? She's like, my tag says Lisa. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to show up, at your place. And then as the girl's coming out, he tells her to go back in, and he sticks his tongue down her throat, and he's doing all these things, and he gives her a tip much bigger than a quarter. And it's just like the imagery, just everything he's saying, the cleverness of the stories, how comfortable he is. And then he even shows, like, I don't want to say gangster, but he also shows that he's a little hardcore, where he's like, well, Brian's in the ride, he's got a 9 and stuff like that. So he's also saying, like, he's not worried about the haters, it's like, I'm my man. So it's like just little things, and then just the overall story, and just how clever it is. And he's saying, like, these other girls have big old butts. And I think LL, in like his infidelity and everything, and just talking about these stories, and just how in detail he's going with a lot of what he's saying. And just all the stories are different, but it's all the same outcome. So I think just LL is really putting his storytelling on display here, and it's something, man.
Well, that's one of the many things that LL does not get enough credit for, being a phenomenal storyteller. This is not one of my picks, but it's definitely one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion, because of the things Amir said, but also when you have a song and he's tying this thread through the whole song, kind of what Amir was alluding to. That shows like the brilliance, and he's not just doing it for shock value. He's like thinking of this and how can I make it clever and then also make it all relate and then also tie it all together and then also have a crazy ending. It's just like, it's crazy, and to do it with a song with Big Ol' Butt, to where it's a song a lot of people could theoretically dismiss because, oh, he's just objectifying women, or he's just talking about how good he is with getting girls. But no, he made it into this crazy, these stories that are tied into the bigger story. So it's just a masterpiece, man. It's a masterpiece. Now, while it's not one of my picks, one of my other picks does have females related in it, and that's Fast Pay. So this is the shortest song on the album, and it's also a story rhyme, and it's also showed, at the time I remember, LL was getting criticized, in my opinion, unfairly, because this was in the height of conscious rap movement really getting off the ground, and there was the Stop the Violence movement, Self-Destruction, Boogie Down Productions, of course Public Enemy, and a lot of these groups were coming out, and they were like, people, not the groups, but people around and in the media were like, oh, how is LL just avoiding this social consciousness and this societal awareness? And I was like, clearly they didn't listen to the album, because Fast Peg is on here. And in the song, even though it's really brief, he really shows the life of this girl who's the drug dealer's girlfriend or the hustler's girlfriend, and she gets killed. And the fact is, shot her in the head, that's the breaks. And there's no like, that's the end of her story because she got killed. And it was very powerful because it showed this was collateral damage in the sense that she wasn't the one out there doing these things that were bad. She wasn't the one that was moving the weight. She wasn't the one that was getting into these beefs. But because of who she was with, she got killed. And that to me sent a very powerful message, like NWA did with Dope Man, where it showed like, yeah, these are the main characters, but the people around them are getting affected. And I think that Fast Peg really showed that and did it brilliantly. And the fact that it was a very unorthodox song because it was so short, and this was toward the end of the era where we had the 5-minute songs on a regular basis, the 6-minute songs on a regular basis, but to have a less than 2-minute song was like ridiculously short and unusual in just so many ways. But the story, I think, was so vivid. And growing up reading the newspaper, growing up watching the news, growing up knowing these things were happening, thankfully not in my immediate neighborhood, but like 1 or 2 neighborhoods away, this was happening. It was just a very powerful song to me, and it was amazing. And I saw not girls getting killed per se, but I saw girls that would be getting into a lot of trouble that were like Fast Pay. So I knew that this story was based in things that were happening and that I saw in the world that I was in growing up in Maryland. So it's amazing. Amazing.
That's a really good one. Was that track 3? Yeah, that's really freaking good.
Speaking of thirds, Amir, what's your third pick?
Yeah, there's a few it could be, but I'm gonna go with, and this one I had not heard till way later because it was only on the cassette version, and that would be Jack the Ripper. And this is just, LL is just really good on this song.
It's phenomenal.
It's a diss track. It's the last song on the cassette version. It's just really potent. And it's also interesting, like, I wonder how they're thinking to put, like, okay, we'll put these on the cassette, we'll put these on the vinyl, how did they think of that? And to me, Jack the Ripper is so incredible that why did it not make all versions of it? Maybe because it was a diss track. But anyways, I think LL is just so ruthless on this, so aggressive towards Mo D, etc. Just him just going in how he is. And it's so funny because in this song, throughout all the disses, one of the big disses too is that, he's older and stuff like that, but Mo D is only a few years older than L. It's not like Mo D is 10, 15 years older. He's just 4 years older than him.
Right.
So it's like they could have went to the same school together. If like in elementary school, they were probably going to the same school together in just age range. So it's just like, I think that's interesting. But LL Cool J just being this just super braggadocio kind of guy, he's able to do all these things and diss them. And then I also love how you get Bobcat on this song. Doing his DJ thing, and then he's like, "So this old school sucker, what real hip hop is." It's just like, it's too funny, man. But in Jack the Ripper, LL is just really going in, and his flow is exceptional. The beat is something else, and he's like, "How you like me now? I'm getting busier. You know, I'm double platinum. You getting dizzier." And it's just the way he's using these words and flowing, and it's not just the actual diss, it's how he's performing and how he's executing and how he's working with the beat. And like I was saying on Dropping 'Em, this is another instrumental that LL is really just showing you how it's done. And that's why you can hear like a super dope beat, or you can even hear an average beat, but it doesn't matter until you hear how someone uses that beat. And
right.
On this, it's like on this album, not even just a song, but on the song it's very evident. He is using these instrumentals to 99 to 100% level. You can't get higher than that. So why would anyone even try and remix? Why would anyone try? You can't. You cannot beat this finished product. And that is on Jack the Ripper. That is throughout this album. But I think on Jack the Ripper especially, he really knows how to use the tools at hand.
Now that being said, this is going to get a little weird because I'm going to somewhat contradict myself, but this is my favorite song possibly by LL Cool J, but it's not one of my favorites on this album because the version of the album I had as a kid, this was not on it. I had heard it before and I just knew the song, and it's not, I love and respect, and Kumo D's phenomenal too, so I don't get any extra pleasure of like, oh, he dissed Kumo D, because Kumo D dissed him very well as well with Let's Go in particular. But this song has so many elements I love. It's got the braggadocio, the beat is phenomenal, it's up-tempo, it's got lots of scratching, and it's got interaction between LL, like he's actually rapping to Bobcat to scratch. It's just so much about the song is phenomenal, and I love it. However, I never associated it with the album because I knew it from elsewhere and as a separate entity. My third pick had been out before, Going Back to Cali. That was out way before this, but because at the time, I didn't have the money to be buying whatever I wanted to buy, but more importantly, it was on the Less Than Zero soundtrack, and it was more Bigger and Deffer era, and then it was on this album, and I thought with I'm That Type of Guy and Going Back to Cali, they both featured songs where he wasn't even rhyming the whole time. He was doing like the whispery flow, which was very unorthodox. He was Going Back to Cali is just phenomenal. He's got the saxophone solos, which was unprecedented or unheard or unusual, however you want to look at it. And just the visual of it, and for me, having never been to California at the time, I just thought it was cool how he was describing it, and videos sometimes made an impact on me, but it was also the video was in black and white, and it was just the whole thing about this song was so bizarre and just very appealing to me. And because it was on the Less Than Zero soundtrack, and because the video came out more in line with this album, or at least when I was seeing the video, I always associated it with Walking with a Panther. Mm-hmm. The song can fit seamlessly into an album that came out 2 years later and still sound ahead of the time. It's just a amazing testament to LL Cool J's musical prowess. And then of course Biggie, remade it, flipped it, however you want to look at what Biggie did. And it just goes back to LL being the best, man, because so many people are drawing from that well. And of course, LL has influences and draws from things himself, but so many of the greats directly take stuff from LL and this album in particular. Even Twister had told me, and I did a story on this for LL's Rock the Bells, but it was like Twister had told me that, why do you think they call it dope in the second and third verses in particular? LL's rapping fast and double and triple time. And as a kid, Twister was hearing this and like, oh my God, this dude is doing what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do, and he's doing it at the super style. And then on Nitro, LL is spelling things out like later K Solo and DMX would do. And he's spelling out not one or two words, he's spelling it out like in the whole verse. So much of what LL did was ahead of its time and still is being copied and modeled after and phenomenal. And you know, we've now talked about 6 or 7 songs on this album, and there's 6 or 7 other ones that are, you know, equally astounding, like 1-900 Cool J. Like, how many people did songs like they were a phone request line after LL did? I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So, anyway, as you can tell, I love this album. And Amir does too. Jingling Baby, the original version. It's like, dude, like,
yes.
It doesn't
Thank
stop.
you.
It doesn't stop.
Dude.
So anyway, those are my top 3 picks, as well as about 5 or 6 others that I think are phenomenal. You guys got Amir's as well. But as always, make sure to hit us in the comments section, like, subscribe, and share to both Unique Access and Rappin' and Snackin'. I'm Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
The great debater Joe, LL Cool J, walking with a Panther. Unheralded masterpiece.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the DOC, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.